Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to the tutorial number 11 of our C++ series. Today we are unlocking the magic of functions, the building blocks of clean and efficient code. By the end of this video, you will master the functions, how to create them, and why they are game changers. You will know why they are game changers. Let's talk about the function. I will give you I will read this definition and then I will explain the definition with a real life example. So a function in C++ is a block of code that performs a specific task. It helps in organizing the code, improving the reusability, reducing redundancy. I will give you a real life example and let's give a start to the real life example. From that real life example, you will understand what is the function, what the concept that are involved in the function. And so the example is that imagine you are baking a pizza. Instead of making the whole pizza from scratch, every time you reuse the steps like preparing the dough, adding the topping. Uh, in the programming functions work same the way. Functions work same the way. They are reusable block of code that perform a specific task. Need to calculate this something 100 times. Just call a function instead of writing the whole code. Functions are likely your coding assistant. You give them a job and they do it, and sometimes they hand back a result like break down their characteristic. Let's break down their characteristics. Every function has three super characteristics that are modularity, reusability, and abstractions. What is the modularity? Basically, modularity is the split of big problem into the small manageable task. Modularity means splitting the big problem into the small manageable task that it can easily handle and, and reduce the size of code and increase the efficiency. And the other thing is reusability. Write up once and use anywhere in your program. It helps in reusability, that help to reuse your one part of code and from anywhere in your program. And the third thing is the abstraction. Hide the complex logic behind the simple way. The complex logic that is we are going to write in the code, that it handle the complex logic, and all the logics should be under the name of these functions. Let's talk about the function syntax. What are the function syntax? In your screen, you will see the functions. This is the function. Uh, the return type. This is the return type that you're seeing in the screen. Return type. What the function give back is known as return type. The function that give the data type back is known as uh, return type, like int, double, float, void, and function name is a name that we give to the function that can uniquely identify the which function is this. And the function body is the body where we write the whole code, and the return is the value where the function is returning the something that can use for the another functions, and we can use it further. The function body is the body of a functions where we write the whole code and reuse that code. Function is a basic thing that help to reuse your code and remove and also reduce the size of code. For example, if you're writing a whole code but you want to y- some part of code you want to execute that some part of code 100 times, but you cannot write the 100 time each part. So that's why we use the functions that can easily execute 100 time without writing the 100 time code again and again. That's why we use the functions that help to execute the multiple task at this multiple task in efficient way and manageable way. Functions come in the two uh, functions come in the uh, this is the syntax of function, that is a whole code of function. Like first of all, we in the code we don't declare the function in after before after the main function. We declare the function after the main function. The main function, I told you earlier, the main function is this into main function. Our main logic of code goes there, and before this function we declare this part of code that is return data type. The function code, and the code is telling that this is the main thing that we do in every code, and this is the function that it is a type as a void. We're not returning any type of data type, so that's why we use the void. So this is the void, and this is the name of our function that is greet, that is unique name. You can name it any name you want. And this is great function greet, and this is the parameter. We're going to replace their parameter if you want to use that parameter in this function. That's why we use this parameter, but in this condition we are not using a parameter because we are not involving any parameter in the type of this function. That's why. And after writing this void and greet, we move inside the function. We're simply printing out the hello world, and after writing this function we write the main function, that is int main function. Then we call this function, so the function call should be activated and executed in the main function. We call the function with the name of greet, that is a greet. Then we give the name to the function, that from that name we are going to call the function that is greet, and the brackets, and if we have a parameters we are going to use the parameter inside there, and the semicolon that help to call the functions. There are there are two flavors, two types of the functions: built-in type and user-defined types. Built-in type functions are the functions that are predefined. I mean the functions that are defined by that are predefined. We don't need to define. It is already already consist already available in the C++ language. Is known as predefined, is known as built-in functions. Basically, the built-in function hashtag include iostream is also built-in function. Hashtag include cmath is the math library that is also built-in function. Built-in functions also known as libraries, and in this function cmath function is the built-in function. We don't need to make that function, but just we have to do this calling of this function and then use these functions in our code like this. Yeah, square is sqrt for square and power, and other some functions that are involved. Just we don't need to declare the function. Just we don't need to edit the function, then we use the function. It is a pre-built function. Just we have to mention the function, then we call the every part of function in the code. Like if we want to make the square of root 25, just we need to call this function, that is sqrt, and then put the parameter 25. Then we can get the answer of 25, that is square of 25. User defined function is another type of function, that is a custom function that the user create the function for its own joy, for its own help, like creating the different types of tasks. That's why you use the user defined functions. And function with the parameters and return types. Basically, functions are the parameters. If you want to involve this some calculations, some types of operations that involving the variables, that's why we use the parameters. Um, in this example, you will understand why we use the parameters. For example, the this is the code. This is the return type. If you want to return something, return this some result in the form of integer, in the form of float, in the form of something. That's why we use the return type. In this function, we are calculating the two integer values. So the answer should be in the form of integer. So that's why we are returning the integer, and so that's why we use the integer here. And the add is the name of the function, that you can give any name of this to the function, and the parameters, the variable that we are going to use in this function for performing the calculations, that is int a and int b. That is a two variables. Simply what we are using a return, that return that result of this function a plus b, And the main function, I told you earlier that the we declare the function before the main functions, not the after the function. Then write the main function after the before function, after the functions. This is the main function. Simply we're going to call the function with the result variable. Just we declare the variable result, and in this result variable we are just calling the function. In the calling the function, we give the value to this function. You can give the value like this by it's simply giving the value on the uh, code. But if you want to put the value on the user user response, you simply you can also get this answer from the user also. Simply we're giving the value of a to 10 and b to 20, then using the add function that perform the addition of the both value and then return the addition using the return type that is integer, return the result in the form of integers. Let's see out some result, and the result will be displayed that is 30. Sum is if sum is equal to 30 will be this sum, this colons and 30 will be displayed, and the return 0 with no errors. This is the code that help to that demonstrate what is the functions. And return this, basically I will give you one more overview of return type. This everyone get confused and what is return type. Basically return type decide if your function gives back the data or just does a task. Return type define is your function give the back the data, just does the task. Use function action like printing void function is the function that we use if we use it. Sorry, void is the return type. If we use the void return, it's just for simple printing task. It doesn't it it didn't return any type. It didn't return any type of data. So that's why we use the void. So because we are using the void, so it can tell the program that we are using void. We are not returning anything. Just we are printing the test statements. Instead of void, we use the sorry. Instead of void, if you returning anything, then we use the int, string, and some other return types. If you're returning the string, we use the string. If you're returning the integer, we use the integer. If you're returning the double, we use the double. I have a challenge in this video. Just pause for this video for 5 minutes and give me answer on comment box. Try this challenge. Drop this solution in this comment box. Need a hint to use modulo operator. Now for this, let's move to the code section so you will understand by execution of that code. So without wasting any time, I will move to the code. This is the dev C++. Simply I will write the code, then I will explain this code. First of all, I declare the okay, this is the simple code that in this code we are using a function that is subtracting the two variables, and after the subtraction, this is the integers, returning the integer. Let me execute this code and I will explain after the execution. Sorry, I will have to compile and run. So simply I'm going to compile and run. S- Sorry, we have to give the value. I will not given the value 20, 30. Compile and run. You can see there the answer is displaying the subtraction is -20. In this code, the subtraction is working here. return type is the return data type is the integer that return the answer in integer. The two variable a and b that in this function we are subtracting the both variable a and b, a minus b. Then we tried this function before the main function. In every code, whenever we are using the function, we have to write the function before the main function. After the function, we have to write the main function so we can call the function. Simply, I write the cout command that making the subtraction. Then we use the sub that basically we call the function with the name of the function, that is the sub, and we give the name sub, and then I will give that name. I will provide the values to the a and values to b so we can make the subtraction. Now I will give the example of void, why we use the void. So will you will also able to understand why we use the void return type. Okay, I write the void greet function that basically help to greet the user. Simply I write the void. We write the void if we are simply printing the uh, some line on the screen. That's why we use the void. If we are not printing anything, we don't use the void. If we are returning something, we use the return data type. Whatever the return data type we are going to return from that function. In this function, we just printing the message. So I use the void. If we are not using the any return type, we have to use the. If we it's this function is nothing is not returning any type, so that's why we use the void. It tell that the function is not it running anything. Then the greet function, then the name of the function, that is greet. Then simply we are going to display the hello message. And the after this and the main function was you just simply calling the function that is greet with the name of greet, and then the bracket, then the semicolon. After this the calling, the let me execute, and then you will see the response. You can see that hello is printing and the subtraction minus 22 is also printing. This they both are they in the same line because we are not using the escape sequence here. If we use the escape sequence, it will move to the next line. That's why we use the I hope you will understand the I hope you will understand why we use the return data type and why we use the void. So why we use the void and why use the any type of data types, return any type of return data types. And that is how you crack the function in C++. And that how you crack the function in C++. You now know that there are types of syntax and the superpower. If this helped, smash the like button and subscribe and ring the bell icon so you can never miss the tutorial. Let me know what the function will you build first. Next time we will dive into the function overloading, same name, different power. Until then, keep coding, keep cracking. I will see you in the next one. Okay, Allah Hafiz.